What's going on, everyone? And welcome to a new episode of Mostly Wrong Opinions. I am Tyrone, and that guy in the Hawaiian shirt that's looking like we're going back to Waikiki is Devin. And what we're about to talk about today is those who wish me dead.
I wish I was dead.
Hey, stop! I'm not gonna hurt you. I want to see where the blood's coming from. It's not my blood. You in trouble? Anyone else in trouble?
My dad said if anything happened, I should find someone I can trust. Are you someone I can trust?
But check it out. Before we get to that, we have the Kobe coin. This week, what we're going to be discussing for the Kobe coin is comedy, okay? A bad comedy and a good comedy. The good comedy is going to be Drop It Thunder, starring Robert Downey Jr., Jack Black, and of course Ben Stiller because he wrote and directed the movie. The bad comedy for this one is going to be The Love Guru, starring Mike Myers. Okay, this side, people, is going to be Drop It Thunder, number 24. Number 8 is going to be The Love Guru. So stay tuned to the end of the show for that. So we're going to start talking about this movie today, and it is Those Who Wish Me Dead. This movie stars Angelina Jolie for some odd reason. and this movie came out on HBO Max, and I'm just gonna say that I dread this movie.
Yep, it's a rough one.
It's a rough one. I dread this movie from beginning to end because it's another movie to where, you know, it's like, what are you doing, WB? Why are you making this movie? Why are you spending your money on this hog crap of a film?
And there's a weird thing with this film that I don't know if you know, but there's a weird connection to this film and one of the films we did last week. Okay. The writer and director of this film is the same guy who wrote Without Remorse.
Are you serious?
Same guy. Same dude, man. His name is Taylor Sheridan. He's mostly known as a writer, and I think from what I'm looking at his IMDb, this is like his first like major film that he's ever directed. So yeah, it does show. It does show. He's directed a couple of other projects. He's directed Vile from 2011, a film I never saw. A movie called Wind River, another movie I never saw. And he's directed a couple episodes of a television show called Yellowstone, a television show I've never saw. So this is the first thing I've ever seen him direct, and it is rough.
What has he written?
Now he's written a lot of good stuff. He's written, and this is where I think his talent probably shines. He wrote the 2015 film Sicario, which is awesome. Like I feel like that's almost untouchable. Like, he could retire off that one. And he also wrote Hell or High Water. He wrote Wind River. He wrote the sequel to Sicario, which is not that's good. And he also wrote Without Remorse and something called The Last Cowboy. I don't know. I think it's a TV show. Don't know what that is. So, and he wrote a couple episodes of looks like he wrote most of the episodes for the TV show Yellowstone, another TV show I've never seen. So it looks like he has a long TV background, and he is starting to dip his toe into directing film, and he needs to take his toe out.
He don't need to be even looking at the pool when it comes to this movie.
This is rough. Or at least he needs to, if he's going to direct, he needs to have someone else write. or if he's gonna write, he needs someone else to direct. Because this double duty stuff, man, the double duty stuff kicks
Now let me
his
tell
ass.
you, it starts off with these two guys who's dressed up as these gas electric guys who come to this house, and it's a big fancy house, and they knock on the door, and they basically pretend like they're there to fix a gas leak. They ask the woman that opens the door, is her husband home? She's like, no, but you can come in and check out the gas leak. And then it cuts to them walking out of the house. One of the guys have blood on his shirt, and then he's like, you have to change your shirt before we get to the next meeting and stuff like that. And they drive off, and what happens when you drive off? The house explodes.
And it kind of reminded me of The Dark Knight with the Joker, where he was walking away from the hospital, and the hospital blew up behind him. You know, yeah, exactly. So like you said, all that is like that wasn't so bad, and I was pretty interested in that. But unfortunately, that was like the best stuff of the movie. I did not know that the next like hour and a half was gonna be the explosion.
Coupled with a snooze fest. So
yeah, you're right. It's mostly boring.
So
I think it's important to note that another reason why I thought we were getting off on a good foot is the two actors who play those two guys. They're pretty good. Those are good actors. One of the guys is an actor named Aidan Gillian. He's a good actor. He's like a top-notch good actor. He's not messing around. And the other guy is Nicholas Hoult.
Beast.
So we all know he's a great actor. Yeah, he's Beast. So I'm like, oh, and I know Angelina Jolie's going to be in here. So it's like, okay, we are starting off on a good foot.
When it comes to this scene where the guy is fixing the breakfast for his son comes into the kitchen. He asks about dating a girl, and they talk about what he would do. He gets advice from his father, but in the same time, on the computer screen that his father's watching, he sees the news that this house that blew up was a district attorney's house. Okay, and then he gets nervous, and then he's like, well, "Get your stuff, son. We're going to school." So they get ready to go to school, and then this father is looking around and just expecting everywhere, and he thinks like someone's gonna jump him, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna play hooky." And then the kid is like, "I don't want to play hooky. I got a chemistry test." Said no kid. Said no kid ever. Okay, so they're driving.
And by the way you did the kid's voice is accurate, because the kid looks like he's about 11 years old, and yet he starts off talking about asking about relationship advice, but all right, yeah. It's a little weird.
So throughout this process, they're driving. They're driving right now, and it cuts to Angelina Jolie's character, who is basically a parachute firefighter that fights fires in the forest. And
now we all know what Angelina Jolie looks like. Does she look like a parachuting firefighter to you? So this is the weirdest casting in the world. And when we first meet her, I'm pretty sure you're about to get to him, but when we first meet her, I guess she's drunk because she's got like a red Solo cup in her hand or something, and she's with their friends, and there's like some kind of ceremony or something like that, and they're being loud.
Yeah, they're celebrating for the new recruits.
Yeah, exactly, the new recruit. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. They're being loud and rowdy, and they're interrupting the ceremony, and Angelina Jolie is hanging out with these like blue collar looking dudes, and it looks bizarre because she does not look like she still looks like Angelina Jolie, Tyrone. She does not look like
she belongs
she
at
does
all.
not look like anything else. Yeah, she looks like a supermodel. She stands out so much. The strangest casting in the world. But I cut you off, man. Go ahead.
It gets to this scene, and you described that scene perfectly to how she looks, and also her surroundings. And so in steps in John Berthol's character. He is the sheriff, and he basically gives them a warning: no rowdy stuff. Okay, don't do no rowdy stuff. I already know what you're about, especially her, because she is kind of a wild child. And one of the reasons why she's supposedly one of the reasons why she's drinking so much is because it has a flashback to where she's I'm trying. There's a big pause inside. It has a flashback to where she is conducting her first mission on trying to stop a fire, and they parachute out of this plane, they land, and they're trying to get this under control, but it gets out of control, and it actually kills one of her firefighters. But then off in the distance, these three little white kids over there looking like three ninjas, and Tom and Rocky, they all getting burnt up over there. Okay, and she's like, and she's that face because she can't save them. I'm like, okay, all right. At first, I thought they were screaming "mommy," like that she was her mom. They were her mom, kid's mom. But
right.
No, and it affects her throughout the movie because she's a drunk and she's trying to drown her sorrows.
Tyrone, I cannot stress this enough that scene is to set up that Angelina Jolie, the same Angelina Jolie the same Angelina Jolie we're all thinking of, it's supposed to be a rough around the edges, blue collar, brooding, dangerous person. Does she look like that? Seriously. And I'm gonna talk about the way Angelina Jolie looks a lot, and I know people are gonna be like, oh, why are you talking about the way this woman looks? Because she just does not fit. It looks like she just looks like she should be in a different movie. Her makeup beat. She looks amazing the whole time. She does not look like she belongs here. And it rips me out of the film every time I see her. And unfortunately, she's the main character. Why is she the main character? I don't know. But yeah, she is.
Yep. Now throughout this process, in these scenes that happens where she's a wild child. And they're talking about, like, back in the day, she used to do like this crazy trick where she would strap on her parachute and she'd get on the back of a truck and she'll release her parachute, she'll fly off and stuff. That's what she used to do back in the day. I kid you not. This dude that looks like he's like 50, 60 something years old comes into the bar and he's like, she's about to do it, man. She's about to do it. She's freaking crazy.
She's doing it right now. She's fucking doing it. Come on. No voice over here.
He's acting like a college student, but you're right. This guy's like 70 years old.
Comes in and they're like,
he's coming on his walker.
And they follow her out here because she's about to do this stunt again, even though the sheriff, played by John Berthal, said, don't try no mess, because he knows her. They used to date in the past.
Okay, I got to pause you. At this point in the film, I paused the movie and I had to text you. I was like, Tyrone, what am I watching? What is this movie? Because around this area, the music is like some kind of country thing going on. It's like, get on up out the girl. It's ridiculous, country thing. I'm like, what is this tacky, nasty music I am hearing? And it's playing over Angelina Jolie, looking like Angelina Jolie, but I guess she's pretending to be a drunk. I'm like, what is this crazy, stupid, corny? I had to call you. I was like, what did you make me do?
I said, hey, man, we got to do it. You got to go through it like I went through it. So.
Oh my God! I wish she had that solo cup. I wish I had a solo cup when I was watching this movie.
So that happens, and John Berthal catches up with them, and he basically punishes her by making her be a watch out in this tower. There's this tower that's up there to where she's supposed to watch out for weather patterns and see what's going on with the forest and fires.
Right. I think she called it a fire tower because it's got a high vantage point, so you're supposed to be able to look out amongst in forest and see like if there's a fire starting, and then she like. Now
cut back to where those two guys that blew up the DA's house. They are searching for this man and that boy. Okay. It cuts to the scene of them driving, and they're driving to his sister-in-law or brother-in-law's cottage, to where, and that brother-in-law is John Berthal. And the guy is like, he's driving and he's like, son, you know what I do, right? And he's like, yeah, you're an accountant. And he's like, yeah, I'm not just an accountant. I look for strange things that happen to people's accounts. okay? I did the right thing. He kept saying it like several times. I did the right thing. And he's like, what did you do, Dad? And he's like, I found some money in the wrong places of these strong politicians and governors and stuff, and the DA found out about it, and that's what happened back there, son. Someone killed the DA, and now I got all the information about where this is. Okay. So
look. For everybody's watching, Tyrone's performance was better than anything in the film. Okay, he would make you think that this is like a good film. Like when he's saying that, you can hear like the music going. But look, in the movie, it's boring as I was like this the whole time. I was like, I was having the hardest time. So I want to make sure we let the people know that like what you just did was better than anything that they're gonna see if they ever actually go watch this movie. There it is.
So that happens. They go to this hotel, and he's writing on this piece of paper this information, and then the kid wakes up and he's like, "What is that?" And he's like, "It's for you." And then he's like, "What is it?" And he's like, "Something you shouldn't have to read." And he says the same thing. I did the right thing. and he's like, "You got to promise me that if something happens to me, you get this to the news. You get this to someone that you trust."
But we don't ever see what he wrote on the piece of paper. So, because he told the kid not to read it, and so I guess again, this is where I'm like curious about the direction here. I guess we're supposed to be having the kid's point of view here, because the kid does not read it. So we, the audience, we don't ever see what he wrote. And yeah, this is like a key thing in the film. But go ahead.
Yeah. So they're driving, and then these two dudes that are hunting them down in the wilderness, where they're close to where John Bernthal is, and they hunt him down. They see the car, because one dude's on the top of the hill, he's sniping, and the other guy's like changing a tire, and then the kid comes around, the father and the son comes around the corner in a blue car, turns around, he starts shooting up the car, and then the car goes over the bank and hits a freaking tree, and then he's like, "Son, I want you to do this. I want you to get out the car and go underneath that tree, and you hide, okay? You stay over there, no matter what happens, okay? I love you. You take this paper."
People, all this drama that he's got going on, it's not in the movie. Go ahead.
He gives him the paper, right? And he's like, he says, what is it? Streams leads to rivers, and rivers leads to towns or something.
Yeah. Streams lead to rivers, rivers to the towns, towns lead to people.
And he tells him to follow that and get that paper to the news, right? So the kid does it. He goes, hides, and then the two people are shooting up the back of this car. I mean, they lighting the back of this car up, and it's bloody mess. He gets ripped apart like Gears of War in the car. Okay.
Now, at this point in the film, for all intents and purposes, the film stops. After this, I feel like nothing interesting happens at all. And this is, to me, in hindsight, when I look back at the film, this to me is a big reason why the director, Tyler Sheridan, probably needed some help here, because I feel like he probably wrote up to that point, and then after that he had to start directing. So it's a pile of dog shit after this. So the kid's whole purpose is to get that piece of paper to the news, but before that, before his father got killed, they were heading to his uncle's house?
John Bernthal,
yeah, okay. Yeah, John Bernthal. John Bernthal is his uncle. So now, if you've been paying attention, I said that Angelina Jolie is the main character. How does she fit into any of this? Spoilers, she does not. So I'm like, why is she our main character? Why is she here? In the ways they shove her into the film, feel like it's like contrived. But again, this is a good.
We about to get to another person that's shoved in here.
Oh yeah, exactly. We're gonna get to that character in a second. But I feel like Angelina Jolie is a good example of a good actress in the wrong movie playing the wrong role. Again, she does not fit this blue collar thing. Her character doesn't need to be here. They could have cut her character out of the entire film. Nothing would have changed.
Exactly. So those two dudes who thought that they killed both of the boy and the guy get a call from a certain person that they're gonna meet up with. It's all mysterious, and then he's like, he said this is close enough. You meet me on the other side. So the bad guy gets out of the car. The other bad guy drives the truck off, and guess who they're meeting? The head honcho, Medea.
Tyler Perry.
He's standing by the gate like, hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Tyler Perry comes out of nowhere, and even if you've never seen a Tyler Perry film, you have a cursory understanding of who Tyler Perry is. He's known for comedy and dressing as a woman, and when you see him, you have a different feeling that you feel a certain kind of way. You think
Alex Ross.
Yeah, okay, he did in that one movie, and it sucked ass. But when you see him, you kind of smile because you think, okay, this is going to be a comedic scene. But no, he's supposed to be the biggest guy, the scariest guy, and I'm like, again, another case of a pretty good actor cast in a strange role. Why would you put Tyler Perry as your intimidating guy behind the shadows? Like it just comes across bizarre. Yeah. It's not. None of this is fun. This is just like a slog.
It's a slog of put together on film to trick people like you to go in to see this movie.
We talked about this briefly. I was like, Tyrone, if movie theaters were open, there's no way I'd watch this movie. Yeah, we talked about this. And you're like, what? Why? You want to see Angelina Jolie movie? So the reason why I was not interested, it's not because I don't like Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie is great. She's a great actress. But movies being headlined by actors these days are very rare. And usually there's a reason why. It's because they've got nothing else going on in the film. There's no story really, so they just have to market the big name actress. And that's how I knew about this film. It was an Angelina Jolie film. And now I see that this film does have absolutely nothing going on. The story is sloppy and strange, and that's really sucks because it was written by a guy who has written better things.
It was directed by a guy who's written better things.
So this was kind of a passion project for him. But we know that this guy can do better because we just saw his the movie last week. What was it called? Remorse. Without Remorse. Yeah. So we know he can. We know he can write.
The reason why he can write better with that is because it was already an adaptation from a book. He had source material already ready there. He's like, pluck that, and now make it to a screenplay.
and maybe pulling double duty like that was just overwhelming. Maybe it was just he had a lot to do since he wrote the script and he directed the film. And another thing about films is most films, the script usually, this sounds weird, but the script usually is not finished when they're shooting.
It's not.
So usually they're writing as they go along.
Sometimes they write as they go. So sometimes they write as they go along, and then if the director is cool, like Taika Waititi of Thor fame, he's like, wing it, ad lib, improvise.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure. But maybe since he is writing, I'm assuming I don't know. I'm assuming that it was probably the case for this film too, where they're writing as they go along. So he's writing while he's directing. This clearly was just like, maybe this was just too much for this guy to handle. This was, especially maybe this film was probably had a big tight budget, probably had a tight deadline, and he probably had a lot to do. And so, to be honest with you, I'm not trying to dunk all over this guy. Like, my heart kind of goes out to him. Like, this was a cool opportunity. I'm not joking. My heart really does go out to this guy. He had an awesome opportunity, and I think he probably did his best. But this was probably a good argument that you probably need a different guy writing your film than directing it, unless you're just like, I don't know, some kind of wonder kid or something. But this movie was a junky, bizarre.
Like, I wanted to think that this film. This is what I wanted this film to go in the same direction when I saw the kid that's running from someone because of something bad happened. I'm thinking, without in the trailer, they didn't even say what's really the thing is no, they need the kid. And they want to kill the kid. It made me think of The Client.
Okay.
That movie was good. I think it starred Tommy Lee Jones also, where a kid witnessed a murder and it was like a gang member and they were coming after him or something like that. Some mobster or something.
Okay.
But
I mean, yeah, that's kind of how this film went. Like, where these two gangster guys, and let me also say that the two actors who played our gangsters, fantastic actors. The cast is great. Like John Bernthal, he's awesome. Angelina Jolie, she's awesome. Both actors who are playing our killers, they're awesome. The cast is killer. This is a really good cast. But this is a big dump, a big turd of a film. I am not sure which part took the dump the hardest. Was it the direction or the writing? Yeah, they were both done by the same guy, and I was just shocked to see that when I looked it up on IMDb.
Tyler Perry tells the guys to go and get the kid. They can get the kid, so they dressed up as FBI agents just to to be able to have some type of thing. And then the guy says, from here on out, whoever we see, we dead them. Bow, boom, doesn't matter. Whoever sees our face, boom, dead. And he lights up these flares and to try and give the police a distraction, throws them in the woods. Everything burns on fire. They get
okay, but let me establish how stupid that is from a writing standpoint. At this point in the film, well, all the stuff that you're talking about, it's actually been cutting back and forth between these two killers and Angelina Jolie. No joke, just standing around in the fire tower. She's just standing around in the tower. Now, at this point, the film says, you know what? I bet you people don't realize that lightning exists. So he decides to establish that lightning sometimes strikes in the forest. So while Angelina Jolie is in her fire tower, this happens at the same time the stuff that you were talking about earlier. Lightning strikes the fire tower, and Angelina Jolie has to jump out of the fire tower. And slide down this rope in order to avoid being hit directly by the lightning, right? And so her hands are all messed up. She's got rope burn from the fire, so from the rope. And so she's washing her hands, and the film cuts back and forth between her standing around and washing her hands and all this killer stuff. And again, at this point in the film, you can't help but ask what is she? Is she going to do something in this film? Why is she here? And at this point, I also thought, I was like, okay, so they've established this lightning strike thing. I guess, I don't know why they would do that. I guess the lightning is going to strike and start a fire. No, our two main characters just throw some flares into the woods and start the fire. So why not have the lightning? Start the fire.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, maybe they'll find out that the fire was man-made or something, and now nope, that doesn't just. I don't. The whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. But I find these kind of movies to be fascinating, and to me, these are the most important movies that we're going to talk about on this show. We talk about a lot of great movies and fun movies and stuff like that, but you can learn more from a really bad movie than you can from a good movie. Because a good movie, you're lost in the plot. You know what I mean? You're like, oh man, that character is great. This scene was awesome. You can get kind of caught up in the film. This movie will never let you get caught up because there's nothing to get into. The movie, Angelina Jolie's character is passive the whole time. She does nothing. Things just happen to her. She just happens to get struck by lightning once, and then she happens to get struck by lightning again, and then just happens to be a fire, and she just happens to have witnessed the fire before that, and she just happens to have run into this kid, and then she just happens to make it to town, and then she just happens to have been exes with John Bernthal.
Just happens to get locked up.
Everything just
by him.
Yeah, everything exactly.
In the tower.
Everything just happens. Yeah, things just happen to her. She does nothing to the story. And this is decisions. Nope. She makes no decisions. She really has no personality other than she's sad about a fire that she witnessed a long time ago. And you need an active main character. And I think in this film, a more active character was John Bernthal's character. He was a lot more active. He made decisions. So at one point, our bad guys, they find John Bernthal and they want him to track the little boy through the woods, and he says no. He makes a decision. He makes a decision. He says no, just kill me now. Blah 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 blah. And then they're like, no, we won't kill you. You will kill your wife and all this stuff. I think John Bernthal should have been our main character. What decisions does Angelina Jolie make, or Angelina Jolie's character
jump
make
off the tower?
None. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's it. As the only decision she made.
To save 3 ninjas.
Yeah, let those kids die. Yeah, exactly. He makes a decision. He's like, no, I'm not gonna track this little boy. You can, which is his nephew. I'm not gonna track him. You can just kill me. And so he's like threatening them, trying to get them to kill him. And he's like fighting. And I'm like, okay, this guy's making decisions. Angelina Jolie does not get an opportunity to do anything like that, which makes her a very passive character. Which means every time we see Angelina Jolie's character, we like fall asleep. I can't help but notice, Tyrone, that you haven't really mentioned Angelina Jolie's character that much because she doesn't do much in this film. And again, and it sucks that we are stuck with this character. If John Bernthal or his wife are the two main characters, we might have an interesting story here. But since we're stuck with Angelina Jolie,
that's what we get. That's what we get,
exactly.
bro. And his, John Berthal's wife is pregnant. Sister, by the way.
Mm-hmm. And, who's awesome, by the way. And she's the best character in the film.
She was rocking, boy. She knew what to do to defend herself when those fake ass she saw those fake badges and she was prepared to burn their faces off right then and there. And
yep. She was established early on that she went to survival training. They said it's like 9 times. I'm like, why are they talking about survival training? But then it comes into play later when she's like, it's almost kind of like Home Alone, like where she's like she's running through her house and like she's got like a makeshift flamethrower. She burns one guy, she shoots another guy. She's awesome.
Talk about the sticky bandits.
Killer. Yeah, for real, she's awesome. And so like, but the thing is, the movie doesn't focus on her. And the movie doesn't focus on John Bernthal. We are stuck with Angelina Jolie's character, who does nothing except brood. And it's like, this is boring. And so I'm like, is Angelina Jolie's character, is she the main character? And I think the answer, unfortunately, is yeah, because the movie spends so much time with her. But she shouldn't be, because she does nothing. And it makes the movie so much more boring than it needs to be, because the movie has to figure out ways to shove her into the story. She has no reason to. She's not related to this kid at all. She's got no reason to be there. Nothing.
She's down there tending to her wounds, and here comes that little boy, and they see each other, and that boy breaks out running, and she goes racing after him, and he's like, slow down. She actually tackles him. Like a left tackle or something, and then he's like, she's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Fuck you," and then you get a mouth on.
As you would if you see a stranger in the woods.
And she ends up saying, "Well, town is like miles and miles that way or whatever."
Yeah, I think she said 12 miles.
12 miles that way. I got a shack up here. The tower over here. It might as well be the shack on stilts. I got a tower over here, and so he can tend to his wounds. He's bleeding and stuff like that. And then so they get up to this tower, and he's crying, and he's all sad, and he's basically talking about what happened to his dad. His dad got shot up and stuff, and he's like, "Why?" She's basically saying, "Why are you out here?" And then he said that, my dad told me that I need to speak to someone who I could trust. Are you someone that I can trust? And she's like, I'm definitely someone that you could trust. I'm like, in what way did the film make us feel that you're trustworthy?
That's a good point. At this point, she has been established as a drunk, as reckless, and as someone who is lightning prone. Because Tyrone, she gets struck by lightning twice in this film. But whatever, we're gonna talk about that in a second. But okay.
So he's like, he gives her the papers that his father wrote, and they look at it. Again, people, we don't know what the hell is on these papers. She reads it once, and she's like, packing stuff up. Putting iodine on her hands, and then he's like, what are we doing? She's like, we're leaving right now.
Yeah, right. So they had a conversation where she was like, "Oh, should we leave in the morning or should we leave tonight?" But then she reads the paper again. Her back is turned to the camera, and she turns around and she's like, "We're leaving right now." So I'm like, "Okay, cool. That makes sense. Got it. It's super important." Which leads to the next most bizarre sequence. They could have cut this entire next sequence out again, and no one would have noticed. So they leave the fire tower, and they're going through the woods. They're hiking through the woods and all that stuff. And turns out there's lightning in the woods again. So it's like, okay, I guess we've gonna come back to the lightning thing. So they have this pretty interesting like little segment where they, to avoid the lightning, one person runs and the other person ducks.
You notice why they were doing that, right?
What?
With lightning, isn't there supposed to be some type of rain?
Right. There's no rain. It's just lightning
out of nowhere, and it's like Thor is about to land.
Like, okay. So anyway, they have this whole thing: run, duck, to avoid the lightning. But then Angelina Jolie gets struck by lightning again. And the little boy, he's like terrified. He's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And I'm like, what? You just got struck by lightning.
Shit off, son. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again, this is Angelina Jolie. She looks amazing. And after getting struck by lightning, she still looks amazing. I mean, like, what? You know what, Tyrone? I woke up funny on the wrong side of the bed one time, and I look crazy. And she got struck by lightning, and she looks... She's like Angelina Jolie.
She woke up like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So after the lightning strike, he starts crying because he's breaking down about his father getting shot in front of his eyes. He leans up against her, and she's like,
Yeah, exactly.
and then she's like, there, crying out.
And so that scene, I'm like, okay, maybe she's slowly trying to get her humanity back or something. Yeah. Not really. That doesn't come into play at all into the film. Not really. So the film is just the film's focus. The film has chosen the wrong main character, and it has cast his main character with the wrong actress, and it saddles what could have been maybe not a good film, but just like a fine. It could have been okay. At least it could have been interesting. Cause I'd never heard of this position before. Because she's a firefighter, but again, she works in the force, so she fights forest fires. And they have to they have to parachute in. That's really cool. And I've never seen that on film before. I've never seen them depicted on film. So I could see them doing something interesting, but we are stuck with the most boring character. Yeah. And it really just kind of pisses all over that interesting idea.
So, I mean, when it comes down to people, we're not going to tell you exactly how this movie ends because there's no reason to. And we never really do on anything that we do here. We don't tell how things end because, we try to make for you guys to make up your own opinion, even if it's mostly wrong. So you guys go check that movie out if you want to, but I'm just going to tell you right.
I will say this. No, if you check this movie out, know that it is bad. And unless you just love Angelina Jolie, then there's nothing here. There's no reason why you would check this movie out. This to me is a really bad film, but you could learn a lot about what not to do if you're trying to write a film or direct a film, because it is directed strangely, it is written bizarrely, and it stands out because we're going to talk about another film later. It's very clear that our director didn't have his vision nailed down all the way yet. He had a kernel of an idea, and this kernel of an idea never got a chance to grow,
pop into a pop.
So we just have a series of scenes where Angelina Jolie is standing there with looking amazing. Whoever did her makeup, kudos to you. She looks fantastic, and there's plenty of close-ups so you can see how she looks. And I'm harping on her looks too, because there's even a line in the film where they talk about like, so you're a firefighter and you're so skinny, and she's like, I'm not skinny, I'm lean, you know, and I'm like, you look like a model. That's what you look like. You look like you're like you just came shit off the runway. Like, she's just strangest casting for this role. Just the strangest casting.
Yeah. So guys, I'm gonna give my rating on this film. I said guys, like I'm talking to more people than you, but I'm gonna give my rating on this film, bro. And this is a 0. It doesn't even get on the board for me. This is the lowest rated film I've done. I don't like this movie. I'm never gonna watch this movie again. I hate that all the stuff, the material and the information that you gave me, it all makes sense of why I don't like this movie. So try again, Angelina Jolie. Try again, the writer and director of this film. I will always give people a second chance to impress me, to engage, to give me engagement. Okay, your art has to tell me something. Exactly what Devin says. Tell me a story. Okay,
Yeah, tell me a story.
So that's why you get a 0. Whatever his name is. But go ahead. What's your rating on this film, man?
I struggled with whether I would give this movie a 0 too, but I don't think I will. I think I'm gonna give this film a 2, and I'm gonna give it a 2 simply because I know Angelina Jolie is a fantastic actress. I know she is. I've seen her kill it a million times, right? And there's some sequences later where she's got to like do some fighting and it's more physical, and it kind of reminds you. You're like, yeah, Angelina Jolie can like do some like really cool like fighting stunt stuff. Yeah. So you're like that's why I like Angelina Jolie. I knew she could do some cool stuff in here. So I like Angelina Jolie. I am happy that our writer director got his chance to make this film, and I hope he gets a chance to make a better one. Because man, this movie sucks. But I hope he gets a chance to make a better one. Because I know he's got talent here, but it's not on display in this film. I also like the cast. I think the whole cast is fantastic. They're not given much to do in this film. This movie is as bland. Bland is that's almost a compliment. Like this movie's not that great. So I would give this movie a 2. It's kind of a loose 2. It might be more like a 1.5, but it's like a 2. And I do not recommend this film. Hopefully, I hope most people watching this knew from the jump that this film would suck. They just saw it in their list, Angelina Jolie, and they saw the title, and said, it's going to be bad, and they just skipped it. I hope that's what happened. Because some movies, they throw gang signs that they're going to be bad. And this movie was throwing them up, boy. I'm like,
What's up, boo?
I'm like, this movie... I knew this movie was going to be trash, just like I knew Mortal Kombat was going to be bad. Some of these movies, they throw gang signs up at you. You just got to learn how to read these signs. And I hope most people knew that and they don't go see it. But I also hope our writer-director, I'm going to look up his name again, Tyler Sheridan. I hope Tyler Sheridan gets another chance. Hopefully he gets another bite at the apple. Because I'm looking at his IMDb. These aren't bad movies. He wrote Sicario. That's an awesome movie. Yeah. He wrote Hell or High Water. Like he's got some good stuff in here. So I hope he gets another chance. But dang, this movie's bad. What? And it's not even fun bad. It's not even like ha ha laugh bad. Yeah. It's like sit in your chair and just like pray this movie ends
as soon as possible. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That is our review on Those Who Wish Me Dead.
What happens next? You're looking right in the eye.
God's gonna cut you down. Tell them that God's gonna cut you down.
What we do want you to stick around for is our new segment, okay? The Kobe Coin. Which we review a bad movie and a good movie, and we let fate decide which one we're going to be seeing. And this week, it is comedies. And the comedies are Tropic Thunder, starring Robert Downey Jr., Jack Black, Ben Stiller. We know what it is, okay? I don't want to get into all the jokes, but we know what it is. That's the good movie. The bad movie is The Love Guru. Okay? And that stars I don't know why I was gonna say Mike Epps, but Mike
Myers.
Okay, and so we got number 8. Okay, that's gonna be the Love Guru. And number 24. All right, that is gonna be Tropic Thunder. All right. So we'll do that at the end of the show, but please do us a favor. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, so you stay updated with everything we do right here on Mostly Wrong Opinions. Okay. The selection last week was between 2 Marvel movies. So the fate have it that it land on Blade. So that's what we'll be talking about today.
For thousands of years, they have existed among us.
You keep your eyes open. They're everywhere. Chances are you've seen them yourself and didn't know it.
A secret nation.
Our livelihood depends on our ability to blend in.
With a lust for power.
Blade was directed by Stephen Norton and written by David S. Goyer.
David S. Goyer is the same writer who would later go on to write The Dark Knight, and he would later to direct Blade 3. But
yes, but wait a minute. That kind of goes in part in what we talked about in the last section.
It does.
Writers.
He wrote and directed Blade 3, and that was a little rough.
So, but yeah, so Blade, if you guys don't know, Blade stars, which you should know, Wesley Snipes, one of the baddest people, martial artists and actors of the 90s, man. And it came out in 1998, which means it was 23 years old now. And it is, to this day, known as the foundation of what we see today in any superhero type of movie. And it wasn't even supposed to be a superhero movie, okay? But it's the foundation of what we get today, and it was led by a black man, okay? Now, it proved that, yes, rated R properties that's based upon a comic book stature, it can succeed because...
Or just movies in general based upon a comic book can work.
Yeah.
And they if you watch the opening credits here, there is a little bit of it does say Marvel, but it's like super teeny tiny, right? Like they really don't want you to know that this is based on a comic book. They really want you to just think, okay, this is a cool thing with Wesley Snipes, blah 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 blah. But this proved that, like you said, comic book movies can work. We can do this.
Because technically, before this, it wasn't a successful one since the Richard Donner Superman film. I mean,
yeah, they're pretty hit or miss.
Just to be honest. So, this movie. It starts off with one of the best scenes ever, okay? Because Blade.
Oh, it's so good.
Blade is half man, half vampire, and Whistler is his caretaker, father figure. They go out and they hunt vampires. And this opening scene where this dude is freaking. And we talked about this in the previous episode. Where this dude is thinking that he's gonna have a good time with this girl.
Well, actually, this film has 2 opening scenes, and I forgot about that for some reason. It actually starts in the hospital with Blade's mother, and this is a super important scene because there's a twist in the end involving Blade's mother, and if you pay attention in the opening scene, it's clearly spoiled. But I didn't pay attention the first time I watched it, so I was pretty shocked. And you know, this movie is a gajillion fucking years old, so who cares if it's spoilers? If you're upset about spoilers, get out. But Blade thinks his mother's dead, and in the end, we find out she's not. Okay, but in the opening scene, we see Blade's mother. She just got bit. She's in the hospital, and she's dying. Everybody's like rushing around her, trying to get her, trying to save her life, and then a really interesting image that tells you a lot and also spoils the big twist later, or I should say foreshadows the big twist later, is she's on the heart monitor thing, and the heart monitor goes boo because she's dead, and yet her eyes are open and her hand is out. And it's the creepiest scene ever. I'm like, whoa. And then we cut to the cool scene.
Yeah.
So like, man, this movie starts off awesome.
It just lets you know that she is technically dead, but
alive. Creepy. It establishes the tone.
And Blade's mother is played by the wonderful Sanaa Lathan.
She is.
And Loving basketball, baby, one of my favorites. You know what I'm saying? Play for your heart.
What?
One game, one-on-one.
For what?
Your heart.
But anyway, this scene is so dope, man, because this dude thinks he's gonna get something from this chick, and she give him all these signs and stuff, and then they get into this club, and he's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, this is fun.
But see, we know early on that we shouldn't be trusting this girl, because he's like, he's like, where are we going? And she's like, it's a surprise, baby. And he's like, yeah. And he like looks away, but the camera stays with the girl, and she's like,
So where are we going?
It's a surprise, baby.
Yeah, I like surprises. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, uh-oh. So I think it's a good point to. I think I want to say this was Stephen King who said this, but I could be wrong. But I've heard this quote that creepy is the center point between. So this is creepy. Hold on, let me make sure I'm in the center here. Creepy is the center point between dangers over here, safety's over here, creepy's over here, where you're not really sure whether you should be running or just not reacting. And so that look that she gave, where she's like, you're not sure if this means this is going to be like the best time he's ever had, or if this is going to be absolutely awful and he should open the door and run out of the car. Great sequence, and I spent more time talking about this sequence than it actually happens on screen. That whole scene, we get all the information in like 10 seconds, pow, 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 and we're going. Awesome.
I don't know, man. If I was in, I'd be like, yeah. And I look, and if I see her like in a mirror reflection doing that stuff, I'd be like, hey, wait a minute. What you doing? I jump out that car so quick and be like, I'm a tuck and roll, bitch. I'm out.
She should have. Damn, he should have got out of there. But yeah, you said they go to the club, and how does the song go, Tyrone?
They getting it, boy. And he's like, yeah, and they're pushing him around and stuff. Because
this is like the 9,000th time I've seen this movie, so I'm like picking up on new things. If you look in the film, if you look at that shot, everyone's looking at him, and he's like, oh man, this is weird. These are some weirdos. They're all looking at me. But they're not looking at his eyes. They're looking at his neck, and the difference between the eyes and the neck is just creepy enough where you're just like, these people are looking at me, but they're not looking at me.
Yeah,
it adds another level of like, dude, get out. These people are not acting normal.
Exactly. So they're pushing him around, and the chicks is like dancing with their bras on. And he's like bumping into people, and all of a sudden he sees like this drip that just gets on his freaking shirt.
But what's important though is that the girl who brought him vanishes immediately. Right? She brings him in, and he's like, yeah, let's have a good time. Boom, she's gone, and he's like, oh,
bro,
like,
I would have been like, hey.
Yeah, exactly. Don't leave me by myself with these freaks.
Yo, man,
She gone.
I'm telling you, I would have dipped.
But but see, that you might have only dipped because you know what's gonna happen next.
No,
the whole scene you don't know from his perspective.
No, sir.
You don't know from his perspective that this is gonna be bad.
The chick brings me somewhere, she just dips, and she pushes me. Okay.
Yeah, she pushed
I'm gone. I'm like, I'm out of here. But then the fact of the matter is, they all smell blood in the water like sharks. So
and she knows that he's dead already. It's like, so she's not going to sit around and play with this dude.
No.
So
The blood starts. He feels like this blood that's happening, just dripping on his face and stuff. He tastes it. He looks up. Everyone's hand is going up at the same time, and the beat happens.
So creepy.
I'm like, yo! And all of a sudden, like the freaking you see the DJ and the lights at the back and it says blood baths. And then it starts raining through the freaking fire sprinklers, which gotta be bad on the pipes, by the way.
Yeah, it's very terrible on the pipes.
And the blood is just coming down, and they're all showering, and he's like, ah! Ah! He's just...
And he slips, and he's like splashing in the blood. It is terrible.
But then she's like, "What's wrong, baby?" And then she kicks him down, and he runs. He squirts everywhere. He's trying to get away, and he runs to the feet of a man in a black trench coat, black everything. You know,
he has no blood on him, and he stands out. Everyone's drenched in blood. He is pristine. Everything looks like he just bought all that clothes today. Yeah. Like everything looks amazing, and so he stands out so much in that crowd. And the whole crowd parts, and it looks awesome.
Parts in slow motion, and while he's walking, you're doom, and then he smiles. He's like, because he's like, this is what I want. And that is the entrance of Blade, and all of a sudden,
and it's a super important entrance too, because that smile you were talking about. It's clear to me after seeing this movie a gajillion times that Blade is having fun. Blade is playing with some of these vampires, specifically Deacon Frost's vampire group. He is playing with them, and he likes to toy with them. He likes to fight them. I imagine he probably could have stopped that rave at any point, but he decided to wait until all the blood came down for the most dramatic reason.
Yeah. And of course, what happens, he goes off on them. He it's some of the most best stylistic action camera angles. And it's not like chop cut camera angles to where you see somebody that's fighting like we saw in Mortal Kombat where it was cut. No, it was like he ran out of ammo. He turned around, did a kick to the face, and then he cocked it in the same freaking action and shot the person in the head. It's crazy choreography within that scene.
And a lot of that can look so good because Wesley Snipes is a trained martial artist. So, they can leave the camera kind of wide and just like let him do his thing. And it looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And that scene was awesome. He has this freaking blade. He has this like double-sided blade, and he like throws it and cuts 3 vampires. And the way, can we talk about how they like die? It's super cool. And
they're like the
you gotta look at the visual department in 1998 and 97, 98. They did a great job.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I actually remember seeing that effect for the first time in the theaters. And again, this is 1998. I wasn't expecting to see like a CGI thing, so I was like, "Whoa!"
Exactly.
Now today, I imagine, if an 11-year-old today were to watch that same shot, he would not have the reaction I had. He would just be like, "Okay, that looks kind of lame." But at the time, you're just not expecting to see all this like these like particle effects and this dust, and fire. And it's interesting how this film is kind of set up, where we learn about the vampires. We actually learn about the vampires through that opening scene, that rave scene, right? Because at this time, you're expecting vampires to be like old and stodgy with the big, collars popping up.
Nosferatu.
And yeah, exactly. But here they are at a rave, and you're like, what in the hell? That is an unusual spot for a vampire movie to start. And we learned that most vampires are kind of stodgy and stuffy. It's just Deacon Frost's group of younger vampires, people who are not pure blood. They are rebellious. They are throwing these parties. They are attracting too much attention to themselves. And the traditional older pure-blooded vampires who are born vampires, they weren't turned like Deacon Frost. Deacon Frost's our main villain, by the way. They weren't turned like Deacon Frost. They were born vampires. They do not like these like crazy raves and young people things that they're doing. They're like, yo, you need to button it up because we have an agreement with the politicians of the humankind where we chill out. We are cool. We live in the background. They provide us with blood via blood banks, which we see later in the film, and we just kind of like chill. We've got a peace that's been brokered,
money,
and you are threatening. Exactly, you are threatening this peace.
Krat prucieribus istampol prota Luciano Frost. Jachdus puliripo. Ochach planica dora sarasto. Mabochache matia olan paurastu prakaritsa. Falat poscani krat kodobranco. Chanas kalinga pascolta.
And you're about to let our secret that we even exist out. So Deacon, I need you to button it up. That's what they're telling him. And Deacon Frost, who looks so cool, and the actor so awesome, he's like, nah.
Stephen Dorff? Is that his name?
Yeah, Stephen Dorff. I can never pronounce his last name. I was afraid to do it. But yeah, great casting because he looks intimidating and scary throughout the film. He's like, nah, I'm gonna do me. I'm tired of doing this old people stuff. And it's also very interesting that they cast Stephen Dorff, who was probably like maybe in his 20s at the time, to be Deacon Frost, because Deacon Frost is a comic book character, but Deacon Frost is an old man in the comics. But he is a young man here, which I think is really good casting because it's established that the vampires, they age slowly, right? So clearly Deacon Frost was probably bit, maybe in his late teens, early 20s, so he still looks really young and vibrant, while the pureblood vampires, they all look old. They're balding or they're bald, and they look old and stuffy, and they're wearing black tuxedos and all that stuff. And he is young. But see, Deacon Frost might have also been alive hundreds of years too. It's not clear exactly how old he is, but because they cast a younger guy, you understand that he is a younger vampire, or just like at least young at heart. So I thought it was really good casting with Deacon Frost and choosing younger people to play Deacon Frost and Deacon Frost's whole crew.
Yeah.
But the lore that was established in this film is also interesting in that it's a mix between science, because we later meet a hematologist who breaks down what a vampire is scientifically. She says, "Oh, they can't produce their own hemoglobin or something like that."
Which is why they need
blood.
So
right, which is why they need blood. Right, these people can't produce their own hemoglobin. I don't know if that even makes any sense, but that's what they said in the movie. So okay, and so they can break down scientifically what a vampire is. But then there's also these vampire myths, like La Magra. There's a myth that this blood vampire would arise, and so I'm like, oh, it's an interesting mix between hard science and myth. So because of this interesting mix, we learn that wood stakes don't do shit. We learn that crosses don't do anything, but silver and garlic do work. So it's like
I always establish
in sunlight.
Silver was with werewolves, man, or is it both?
I think it's both. Yeah, I think it's both. But in this film, it's definitely silver with vampires. Karen's assistant and her ex-boyfriend, he got bit, but he did not die. He turned into some sort of zombie. And apparently this happens sometimes. People get bit, they either die, or they turn into a vampire, or a third option, they turn into a creepy zombie. And I'm like, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of different things can happen within the human body when they get bit. So again, it's like an interesting mythology where you can kind of become a zombie thing, you can kind of become a vampire, and then you got half breeds, you got gods, got science.
Let me see if I can do it real quick. Karen, how you doing, Karen? He's like, tell me, do you still think about us?
Karen, I never thought I would see you again. Tell me, Karen, do you ever have second thoughts about us?
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty good.
Again, Oscar.
There it is. and we learn that Blade is a half vampire, half human hybrid, and the vampires are both envious and terrified of Blade.
Because he has all their strengths, but none of their weaknesses.
Except one.
He has one weakness, which is the thirst. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thirst, and he ages. He ages. So I guess 2 weeks.
Well, he ages like a normal human.
Right. So he's not going to be around hundreds of years like the regular vampires do. He gets old, and that's why he looks older. than everyone else because he's, he ages. But yes, he does have the thirst, and that's in all caps, the thirst.
Yeah, and he has this serum that is wearing off, on him, and he starts feeling the thirst more in the later scenes and stuff. But the scientist who got bit, and she needs to make, like, he asks her by the end of the film to make him a better serum, but they make like this this freaking serum that explodes vampires that reacts in reverse. Some of the most coolest effects ever, man. Jeez.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
it's
it is
so cool. This movie is the epitome of cool. Okay,
and it is the epitome of cool. And I actually think this is the film's biggest flaw, because the film does sit around a little bit longer than I remembered, focusing on Deacon Frost's like Versace shirt.
I don't know what they said. That shit was hard though. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. So the movie does spend a long time being cool. And when I was like 11 or 12 and I saw this movie, I thought it was awesome. But as an adult, I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's move on. Let's go. I see. Deacon Frost is a snappy dresser. Let's go. But, it does hang around that a little bit longer than I would like. And then there's that scene later in the film where Blade is getting his glasses back, and he does it in the most dramatic, coolest way possible.
Kill him. Wait! I owe you, man. I got 2 new hands, Blade. I don't know which one to use to kill you with.
He starts whooping everybody. Frost! I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's get it. I love all that stuff, man. I don't care if I was 12 or now. You give me that.
The only problem with it is when you linger on it too long. To be cool, you just are, or you're not. You don't talk about it. You just are, or you're not. And I feel like this movie keeps trying to tell you that it's cool. It's like, guys, don't forget I'm cool. Hey, man, hey,
Dude,
don't you think I'm cool? Hey,
90s.
Tyrone, don't you think I'm cool? I'm cool. No, hey, I'm cool.
Everything around that time that came out, The Craft, what is that? From Dusk Till Dawn, The Matrix, all that stuff. It was all about
The Matrix, but The Matrix is cool. It wasn't afraid to have its characters also look like shit every once in a while, right? When they were in the real world, they all looked like homeless people, right? So the only reason they were cool was because now they're in the Matrix and they can look however they want. So of course they'll look awesome. Who would go into the Matrix and make themselves look like, a piece of garbage? So of course they look awesome. So I understood why they would look cool. And this movie spends a long time establishing that Deacon Frost is cool, Blade is cool, Whistler is cool. I'm like, I get it, bro. I get it. So anyway, that was
probably one of the coolest old men in a movie in a long time, because he had a limp. He had cancer, and he was still whooping ass.
It's the film threatens to make Blade two-dimensional early on, where he's just a brooding, angry guy who can fight. And Whistler brings all that down. Whistler is deeply, passionately unimpressed by Blade. Blade does the coolest stuff, and Whistler's like, you done? Because they kind of have like a father-son kind of relationship. Yeah. And so you can feel a lot of warmth between Whistler and Blade, and I think that's probably a testament to Wesley Snipes' acting, because at the time he was actually trying to act. Later on, well, no, but it's probably a good testament to his acting and the actor who played Whistler, his acting too. They really do seem like they had their old friends, their old buddies, and that you can really it really feels like there is a lot of love between them, which opens up Blade's character and keeps him from being two-dimensional. A two-dimensional killing machine like Michael B. Jordan in Without Remorse, where he's just cool. He just stands there stoically, and that's what Blade does. He just stands there stoically. But he's given moments to hurt. He's given moments to grieve when Whistler gets hurt. He's given moments to worry. So he's given a lot more to do.
Yeah. You know, he has awesome one-liners too.
He does.
He says, "When you meet Frost, you tell him it's open season on all suckheads."
You give Frost a message from me. You tell him it's open season on all suckheads.
Points his finger at his head. Deacon killed the head vampire. You know, took him out to the sunset, took his teeth out, and they put on sunscreen, which I was like, sunscreen, really?
Even Blade makes fun of it. He's like, "Your mascara's ready."
I'm like, really? Okay. So and they burn up that vampire.
The reason why they do that is because we learn that Frost's whole mission is to reincarnate this vampire god named Lamagra. And it's interesting that the young vampire is actually, in a way, more traditional than the traditional older vampires. The young vampire he is deep into the vampire ancient text, aka the Vampire Bible. And he's deep into it, and he thinks that the vampires have gotten too far away from their roots. He thinks that the vampires have gotten too interested in money. He thinks the vampires have gotten too interested in power, and he wants to get back to the
says the
ways.
most flashiest person in the room.
Exactly. That's true. But see, it kind of works because Deacon Frost shows no interest in some of that stuff. He's never at the club, and if he is at the club, he's in the back somewhere looking bored, right? He really just seems like he's doing this to gain followers, right? Like even at his party where his henchman is there, and he's like, "Oh, I know Deacon Frost. I'll show you Deacon Frost." You know, he's like, "Deacon Frost is my best friend." Deacon walks to the party looking bored as hell, and just like cruises right by this guy and embarrasses him in front of those two girls.
You want to meet him?
Yeah.
I can get you guys anything because we're tired. We're like brothers. Deke, I've been telling these bitches all about you, man. They've been dying to meet you. They're so psyched. Badass bitches. They were. I met them. Deke.
So Deacon he always looks a little detached from a lot of the modern trappings that he surrounds himself with. But you're talking about how he rounded up the original 12 purebloods. And
the reason why he kept telling his henchmen anytime they ran into Blade is like, "I want him alive," because he needs the Daywalker's blood to be able to activate and get this thing all started, you know. And how they caught Blade, they caught him slipping when Blade got into the same room where the database for the ancient place was, and his mom was in this. You know what I realized? That's a modern sarcophagus. Well, she was in is a modern sarcophagus. I'm like, yo, I was thinking about that when I watched it. I was like, wait a minute. Vampires sleep in sarcophagus, and it turned the dials on the side and it raises up, like has this freaking thing. I'm like, yo, that's cool. So
yeah, that is
Lathan
cool.
steps out and he's like, "You were dead." She's like, "No, Eric, I'm alive," and all this other stuff, and then we find out.
But actually, he almost gets caught before that when he's in the room with the Vampire Bible, and he sees a little girl, and instead of just like round kicking her to the face, right?
Yeah, simply.
he's like, "Give me your hand," and then she round kicks him.
She was doing all this harung kicks from Tekken on his ass.
Yeah.
Pop, 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 pop.
And that's important because it shows that Blade is more than just this two-dimensional brooding dude. And we learn after that scene why he is brooding. And it's because Blade, and when I was a kid, I never picked up on this, but Blade hates himself. He when Karen, the pathologist or hematologist, was talking to him, he was like, I'm not even human. Like he has a real hate for himself, and he hates himself because he has the thirst. He knows that he is one of the monsters that he's trying to kill. He knows that he is essentially a vampire, and he is super conflicted. As a matter of fact, Deacon Frost even picks up on this when they meet in Chinatown, and Blade is like, oh, I'm going to kill all the vampires and all that stuff. Deacon Frost says, don't come to me with that Uncle Tom routine. I'm like, Uncle Tom routine?
Well, maybe I don't see it that way.
Oh, so it's back to pretending we're human again? Come on, spare me the Uncle Tom routine, okay? You can't keep denying what you are, man. You think the humans will ever accept a half-breed like you?
Like, whoa, okay. Yeah. So Deacon Frost views Blade as a traitor, right? Like he's killing his own people.
Because we find out that when he sees his mom and he gets ambushed and shocked to death, and he was like, don't be surprised that your mom is here. After all, you wanted to meet the vampire that bit your mom. Here I am.
Deacon Frost is the reason why Blade is half human, half vampire. And again, also interesting because Stephen Dorff is much younger than Wesley Snipes. So, that's kind of a twist you don't really expect, that is essentially another father figure for him is Frost. But
one big fucking happy family. But he puts him inside this tube that basically it drains his blood. It's like this standing up sarcophagus that has his body in there, and it drains his blood out of his wrist, and it drains down to the each placement of they place the council, the vampire council around, and Deacon stands in the middle, and all the blood goes to them and on the top of his head, and it's supposed to release the blood god, the blood vampire. He gets released because the other girl, she's there to Karen. She's there to help him out, and he gets released, and then he needs blood. He needs his serum, but she's like, nah, you're gonna drink from me, and he drinks like damn near all of her blood, and they played his music.
And it's shot like a sex scene, and they even hint early before that when Karen was caught by Deacon Frost. He's like, oh, is Blade not giving it to you right? And so, because Blade is not having sex with Karen. And during this scene, it's filmed like they're like a sex scene.
I don't want to do the noises, but
Wait, what's the noise again? What was it? Yeah, exactly.
But
right, and then it's shot like a sex scene, and then after he's done, he's like,
what a release!
It's disgusting. I'm like, oh gross.
Man, yeah, man. You need a busting up bar?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, Opera. Thank you, Opera, for that. But yeah.
But what's interesting is after that scene, though, they have another little scene, another quiet scene, where we see, I think it's after that scene, where Blade, it's after that scene, where Blade and his mom meet up again.
Yeah.
And his mom is like, she's obviously trying to trick him. It couldn't be more obvious. And he looks like he's about to be tricked. And this is where he gets a chance to make a decision. And he says he could do anything in this point, right? He could either be tricked, he could just push her aside and go find Frost, but instead he's like, I have to release you. And he kills his own mother. This is someone that he keeps her hospital card with him the whole time. So you know that he really cares for her. You know that he's been dreaming about her all the time. You know this is someone that, upon meeting her, he was just like shocked. It's the most emotion you've ever seen from him. And he kills his own mother in the film. Awesome scene.
Decision.
And then after that, he goes on. Yeah, exactly. Makes the decision. There's another point in the film where he makes a decision where Frost is in Chinatown. He's wearing his mascara, the sunblock, and he's got a little girl in his arm. And Blade, this is Blade. He could shoot Frost in the face right now, right? And he knows he could shoot Frost in the face right now. But not only does he not want to hurt the little girl, I don't think he wants to scare the little girl. So he doesn't. And these kind of decisions tell you things about the character. It makes Blade a lot more sympathetic, a lot more interesting. And then when Frost throws the little girl and he runs the other way, he almost goes after Frost, but he stops to turn around.
Save the little girl. Yeah, and which, it makes him a hero.
Yep, exactly. Him going back after the little girl makes him a hero, and it's one of the big differences between him and the vampires, him and Frost.
Yeah, and the fact that he makes a decision makes him different than Angelina Jolie's character. But
yep, we understand. We throughout the film we understand this character. Angelina Jolie's character, I don't even know her name. I don't know her name. I don't know her motivation. I don't know what she's doing. Is it Hannah? I don't know, man. But watching a good film is nice. It's like a warm cup of coffee or something. Just wakes you up. We have been,
drinking cold cups of coffee for the last week or so, and it's been tiring.
With the grounds at the bottom.
The grounds at the bottom. And the thing is, it's like, man, we had to go back to a time where movies were made simpler, but with more thought within it being simple.
And it's actually a good point in that this film is actually, it's shot really well, but it is kind of shot kind of simple. Like they move from one dark room to another dark room. The most elaborate set is that big set at the end with the Lamagra thing. So it's not shot like super extraordinary or anything like that. But it is shot very competently, and I liked that. This is nice to see now, a film shot on film. It looks different.
It is shot on film.
Instead of something shot with a digital camera. It looks grimy. It looks grungy. There's like papers flying everywhere. It looks nasty. Yeah. The whole city looks scary. And I wouldn't want to live in that city. And clearly it was just LA. So. And then
they fight. Deacon Frost fight when he's the Lamagra god. And
right, I see. And I wasn't clear. Is he possessed?
It seems like he was possessed.
So, because when someone asked, you said Deacon Frost, and he says, not anymore. So, yeah. So is Deacon Frost gone, and he's been replaced by Lamagra?
Deacon? Not anymore.
And he gets the serum and stuff that he took off of him earlier, and the fight was cool. He was whooping Blade's ass in the beginning until he got the serum, and it got all in him and it exploded. He looked hilarious. He looked like a huge, deformed, ugly Stay Puft, but it exploded and it was awesome and it was beautiful. And then he's like, "Let's get out of here." And they get up there and the sun is out and stuff, and he tells her, he says he basically can't come to terms with himself. And he said, there's still stuff I need to get done. How about you work on stop, don't make me a cure, make me,
a better serum. Yeah, exactly. Because he was thinking about making a cure to cure him of his vampirism. But now he's like, I can't, because being a half-breed, being Blade. He doesn't. By the way, Blade is not his name. His name is Eric, but he calls himself Blade because I think he just considers himself something else, something different. I think that's part of his hatred for himself, which again I never picked up on when I was a kid, which is really interesting. But yeah, he was like he became to better terms with himself. But you're right, he's still not happy with himself. He's like, look, I'm gonna do this until I die. I just need to kill all the vampires I can until I die, which is really interesting.
The cool thing too, man, when the dopest part at the end when you see you're in freaking Moscow And it's so cool. The lighting is perfect. The snow is coming down, and you see that he's going around the world doing this. And then he speaks in Russian.
Like a black figure. Yeah, he speaks in Russian, and he's like a black figure against this white snow, and the snow is coming down. It is so cool.
And on that film, it looks perfect.
Yeah,
and then
beautiful.
It comes down, and he gets into his stance, and then it goes. I'm like, yo!
I let those credits run for a minute, man. I let them run for a minute just to hear the music.
Exactly. I was like, yo, this music. I was like, yeah. and I remember seeing that at 12 years old, dude. People were clapping at the end of it. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that too. And I remember feeling really proud to like have like a black superhero who was just like awesome. Mm-hmm. And without Blade, there would be no MCU. There'd be no Iron Man. There would have been no Spider-Man movie, even with Sam Raimi. There would be no X-Men.
There would be no modern superhero movie at all without that.
Yeah,
not even a DCU, because it had to be proven first that a comic book movie can succeed.
And one of the interesting ways that they did it is they took a very obscure character, Blade, and they changed that character quite a bit. So Blade doesn't look anything like he does in the comic book or anything at all. And I liked the changes that they made. This is a great example of not being a super stickler for the comic book, because they changed it in just the right way.
Yeah, he looked way different in the comic.
Yeah, Blade's got an afro, and he's apparently his mom. I think his mom's alive or something. I don't know. And his mom's like a prostitute, and I don't know. He looks very different, and his background's very different. There's no black leather, no cool sunglasses, none of this stuff.
Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you, man, this movie is a 9.5 in my book.
I'll be honest. I'm gonna give it a high grade too. But I'm not sure exactly how much of that is just me speaking from nostalgia. I think I was surprised at how long this movie does sit on the cool stuff. So I think if you're not as nostalgic for this movie as I am, you might not grade it as high as I will. But I'm gonna give this movie a 9. But I think the real score is probably closer to an 8, because my nostalgia, I'm not gonna lie to you. My nostalgia puts blinders on.
But you can't.
I really like it.
You can't let that go, man, because that is what movies do to us. They make us feel that.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's okay to add that to a rating scale, because that's what they're supposed to do. Art is a form of expression, and it's supposed to give out an expression in you. So
yeah, and I think this is kind of the cornerstone of this channel, where your opinion is maybe different from mine, maybe different from someone else's, mostly because we bring different baggage to every movie we watch. And with this movie, this movie hits a soft spot for me. So I know I bring in a lot of fun, warm memories when I watch this movie. Someone who doesn't have that, they might not enjoy this movie to the same extent that I do, and that's okay. I might think your opinion is wrong. You might think my opinion is wrong, but you know what? I don't give a rat's ass.
Exactly.
I like this movie, and it's fun. Just like with You and the Crow, right? I didn't bring in that same kind of nostalgia, that same kind of emotional baggage that you had, which makes the movie warm and fuzzy for you. But for me, it didn't do anything. So I wonder if this could be my Crow. If someone else saw this movie who wasn't as nostalgic, maybe they would see something else. I don't know.
Only difference is the man that you see on the other side of the screen is agreeing with you wholeheartedly than it was with the Crow.
Wesley Snipes, Stephen Dorff.
You're one of them, aren't you?
No, I'm something else. Blade.
doing the Kobe coin, and we're selecting The Love Guru, which is the bad film, number 8. And the good film is Tropic Thunder, 24. Here it is. And the movie that we will be reviewing with Army of Dead next week is...
I got short money, but I need some wheels.
Call Mac, he got easy deals. Get down with the dollar down.
I'm riding in a hoopty, I be hating.
Check Mac, he don't sweat a credit rating.
No, he don't.
Mac got bang.
And the movie that we will be reviewing with Army of Dead next week is... Yes! 2 for 2, baby!
What? Hold it up real close. Hold it up real close.
Oh, Tropic Thunder, baby!
Oh, man.
Oh. I feel like I just ate a busting up bar, man. That is our episode. Okay, for Mostly Wrong Opinions today, we'd like to thank you for clicking on this video. And again, remember, my name is Tyrone, and you can find me on my band's Instagram. That is yerp_ATL. All right. Also, I'm a gamer. If you haven't noticed, okay, you can join me live on my Twitch. Twitch.tv/YerpNationGaming. And y'all got to check out my reaction page, man. I got a lot of stuff to come over on that reaction page. It's very, very good. That's Yerp Nation Reactions. And you can find me right here on Mostly Wrong Opinions too.
And I am Devin. I have a personal Instagram. It is DevinHarris29. You can also find me on TikTok. It's at Mostly Wrong Opinions. You can find me right here at Mostly Wrong Opinions. And you can find some of my writing at GeekSleepRepeat.com.
Exactly. And just leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought about these two movies, whether you agree with us or not. And, you can leave a like on it. You can hit the thumbs up. You can hit the thumbs down. Whichever it is your opinion. But just remember one thing. It's mostly wrong. Have a good one. I was trying to do something dramatic. Cut the video.